Welcome back to another episode at Beyond the Score podcast. What's going on, Josh? How's everything up north?
Hey man, all's good up here. How's everything down there?
Let me tell you something. Traffic is picking up in South Florida. It's starting
You're,
to get a little
you're gonna
annoying.
complain to a New Yorker about traffic? Fuck out of here.
I have to. I mean, we have
There's
6
my
months.
first curse. There's my first curse
6
on the
months.
show.
We'll bleep it out for our minor audiences.
That's so funny. I've been trying so hard.
You were
not to.
pretty good too. I've slipped up a couple of times. I even remember I slipped up purposefully, actually, for Daniel Jones because sometimes some things frustrate you and you got to just get it out there. But obviously, it must have frustrated you a lot that I brought up traffic and it triggered you so much to consider the fact that New York traffic is so much worse than Florida traffic.
That's my full pet peeve. But I do sympathize with the frustration of traffic, no matter where it is.
No. New York traffic is absolutely horrible because it could be like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it could be 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it could be 8 o'clock, it could be 10 o'clock, it could be midnight, and it's just absolutely insane. But
if you're at the GW, it could be 3 a.m.
Yeah, if you're stuck on the George Washington Bridge, forget about it. It is going to be a complete nightmare.
What's the opposite of a shout out? Ben, can you chime in? What would you say the opposite of a shout out is?
Ooh, the opposite of a shout out.
Getting canceled.
I have a follow up for it, like a phrase, like when you say like shout out to, like the opposite of that.
Let me see.
I have no idea what you could possibly shout out.
It would be
negate. No, that's not even. Ben's about to come up with something good here.
Need an antonym for shout out. Here's a list.
Yeah, antonym for shout out. Not really sure what you can find up. I feel like we're emphasizing way too much about
a diss track or
a diss track
or a whisper.
Right. Well,
I think we focused way too much about this, and I think we should probably move on to something that we're better off talking about.
So I'll say it like this: we'll give an anti shout out to the George Washington Bridge.
Fair enough. Anti shout out to the George Washington Bridge. We'll throw in the Throgs Neck in there too because it's absolutely brutal. But let's start off with our picks. We are getting better. Cincinnati +6. Cash that bet. It was a similar game to what they played in week 5. It was a shootout, and it sucks that Joe Burrow just has no help from the defense because he's so great, and he would be considered an MVP candidate in my eyes if it wasn't for the fact that his defense can't make up any stops. And it's unfortunate, but it's funny too, right? Because the Ravens, they're a good team, but it seems like the Steelers are kind of running away with that division. But we'll take the cash for this week. We move on to next week. Josh, looks like we're perfect this week, right?
Absolutely. As I said that the Bengals weren't gonna win, but obviously Jamar Chase did everything he physically could to win that game, but just wasn't enough. And it's not his fault. It's not Joe Burrow's fault. I hope I've made that clear throughout this year. Just the Bengals tried to get a taped together defense and get rid of their running back, and now they're gonna do something in this offseason with the decent draft pick, and I'll probably have them in the Super Bowl next year. But
I could totally see it too, honestly.
We had the Jets Cardinals under. We did not expect it to be 31-6, but you know what? We'll take it. We said the Jets were under. We're averaging 19 points a game their prior 4 games, and they definitely stayed true to being. The Cardinals stayed true to keeping them under 20 to win the game. And Harry, how did you feel about that going in?
I'm not too surprised. I felt confident at least that the Cardinals were going to outperform the Jets at home, which they did. And to the defense of the Arizona Cardinals, congratulations. You guys have definitely proven yourselves to be a noteworthy defense, taking out the Jets relatively easily. And whatever you want to have regarding your opinions about the Jets, the fact that they put up 6 points is pretty impressive for the at least a defensive standpoint. For the Cardinals, obviously it's a big concern going forward for the Jets because you know how you're going to win when you put up 6 points. They come off a victory against the Texans, which they felt a little better about, and then they come into Arizona and just get absolutely annihilated by the Cardinals, which probably would have never been a thought for any Jets fans going into the season. But Kyler Murray has been playing well. The overall atmosphere in the Cardinals locker room is thriving, and it showed on the field, and they won relatively easily. I mean, for you, this was easy to know that the Jets just weren't going to score games, and it felt like it was pretty comfortable halfway through. I'd say probably the third quarter, and then for
Yeah.
me too, seeing how much of a shootout it was in that game, I felt comfortable knowing, especially when the Bengals had a 21-7 lead, that the +6 was going to be pretty good. And so we ride into
Mhm.
next week pretty confident. We're running a nice hot streak over here. Josh, what's your next week's pick? It's actually you got a couple, right? Well, it's I'll let you explain.
Yeah, so for those who aren't huge into sports betting or don't really understand the conceptualization of a same game parlay, I have the Rams money line and under 49.5. So what I did, I've seen the Rams have struggled a little bit against the spread on the road, but the games have been going under, and I expect them and the Patriots to keep each other in check. And putting the money line with an alternate under, those are both lines that it would have been a little costly to take them both on their own. So you put them together, it's a sweet -106. Harry, how you feel about this?
What can you explain? I mean I know, but can you explain to the viewers who might not know what is the alternate?
So whenever the game comes out, the sports books run their algorithms, and they let the game play 100,000 times or a million times, and then it says, look at that Jets game. It was 41.5. So you look at that, and through all the simulations, it averaged 41.5 points. So is it gonna truly go over or truly go under? And so doing an alternate is where if you look at that 41, you're like, it could be pretty close to this, but if you add a couple more points, it'll get a little more expensive, but at the same time, you get a couple more points to work with.
So it's
And
it's it's basically trying to be a little bit more conservative with your bet, right?
exactly.
Yeah, I mean it,
Best way
it
to put
makes
it.
sense because I think the line was roughly 43.5 before the alternate, and I really like this because the way I see these two teams going at it, the Rams in terms of their offense, Stafford has not been looking so great. He's made some questionable decisions, even against this past game, where there was a lot of questionable decisions playing against the Dolphins at home. There was, for
Mhm,
instance, a play where they were down. It was 20-12, and they had a wide open Kyron Williams on the check down that would have scored an
mhm.
easy touchdown, and he decided to throw it in the end zone for an incompletion. And so I see a lot of things that aren't working necessarily well with the Rams offense. So I definitely can see this thing going under for a win straight out. I could also see that happening too in terms of a low scoring game. Because at the end of the day, they do still have some weapons out there, and you expect that guys like Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup, who are playmakers, that once they do get the ball in their hands, that they'll be able to make some magic happen. So I definitely think that this one should be a relatively easy lock, and I think if we put it together with what I have, it should be a nice cash out for anybody. I got, and it's going to be a big game. I've been talking about these two teams from the start of the preseason. Seattle at San Francisco. I'm taking Seattle +6.5. I know they've been trending down lately. Christian McCaffrey's back. Niners are trending up. It's probably a wave that a lot of people won't feel comfortable getting into, but 6.5 points. It's a divisional game. I like it a lot in terms of being a high caliber game where you're going to see a lot of good football being played on both sides of the ball. I think Geno Smith is going to get his offense going in this game, and expect that regardless of the outcome, it's going to be a close one. Whether the Niners win by a field goal or not, like I said, that's a lock. We got 6.5 points here to give. So
You're
in,
good.
in terms of this, I think this one's a relatively easy one. I know a lot of people were taking the Niners -6.5. I think you got to take Seattle here on this one.
Yeah, I think that -6.5 is kinda trappy. They're trying to get you to bet on that because to me, it has the feel of a closer game because, I mean, that whole team, even when they're healthy, they're still banged up. I mean, I know one of their players had a huge tragedy with one of their kids, so I don't know if he'll be around either, but when you look at the way they played, you're getting your wish where Kenneth Walker III will finally play against the 49ers. I know in the beginning of the year, you said that they played both games and the 49ers won both, but there was no Kenneth Walker. So that could make a huge impact. And this 49ers team, their last three games, they lost by 10, they won by 6, they won by 3. So even if they fit into that trend, it's a win. And I think that I'm not necessarily on board with saying Seattle would win the game, but I do think that having Kenneth Walker having the drive to play a really good game off of a frustrating home overtime loss where the 49ers are vulnerable even if they're good. I think that this is a good spot.
I think you'll have a lot of Seattle fans in that stadium as well, which is going to bring out a neutral feeling. It's not going to be neutral, but they should definitely have a decent presence there. Also coming off a bye week where they had a lot to think about. Not having the best couple of games going into the bye. This one's going to be one that they're going to play their hearts and souls out. Try to lock this one down, but we're confident, and let's look to go even next week. If we win these two, we'll be 12-12, and then we look forward to just being positive for the remainder of the season. So
That's why you don't
pretty
chase your
impressive fight
losses.
back, right? And I mean,
Why you
I'd
don't
have to
chase
say,
your losses.
no, for
Yeah.
sure. But you make the right selections, and it results into cash outs. Hopefully, if anybody's actually taking these, and we're not, strategic bettors in any sense that we're not putting out advice here. But if you're taking it, we're happy to see that you're riding with us as well. But let's move
Yep.
on to some of our, cool little moments that happened in the NFL, our sideline stories. Mike Williams had an impressive catch to help the Steelers beat the NFC East division leaders, who no longer are the division leaders. Now the Eagles have just passed them, but the Commanders. Ben, we have a clip. Can you pull that up so that we can show everyone this impressive touchdown by Mike Williams, the newest member of the Steelers?
Looking to the right. He's going to lob towards the corner of the end zone, and Pickens, oh my goodness, what a catch!
I don't know why they're calling it Pickens touchdown. I think that the Mike Williams one might come after. But
So we got what? We got Pickens on that one. Isn't no, that's
I guess
Pat Freiermuth on the next one.
I guess just recapping the whole game. I thought that
Well, the game-winning touchdown was Mike Williams.
Well, when I looked at it, when I clicked the link, it showed me the touchdown that Mike Williams made. Honestly, the catch itself wasn't what was as impressive as the situation where it was a stalemate for the fourth quarter.
Ben, do we have it up? We actually have that clip up. Let's get Mike Williams up here real quick.
Loaded up left for Williams.
Whoa! Still pretty impressive, I will say.
Oh, yeah, it was.
To get in there in your first game, to be able to have a catch like that and make a really big impact for your team, that's the reason why they go out and get a guy like Mike Williams, a player who really wasn't, doing much for the Jets.
Yeah, well, they were saying that in this situation, Mike Williams only played a couple of snaps, but that he might have been trying to send a message to the Jets on that deep ball that Aaron Rodgers didn't throw his way, or that I don't remember exactly what happened, but that Aaron Rodgers blamed Mike Williams for doing the wrong route. He wanted to let the world know I'm a competent receiver that can make big plays for good teams, and he made a catch on a route that they said he never ran before in his life.
Well, listen, I mean, whatever's happening with the Jets, it seems like they all want to just point the fingers at the people that are no longer on their team. And it's not really, as you can see, it's not really paying off any dividends for the Jets. There was a lot of people who were interested in Mike Williams at the trade deadline. The Chargers would like to get him back as well. Steelers get him, and they look like they're thriving with him, and they look like a really good team. And Russell Wilson looks like he's playing old Russell Wilson, which is amazing to see. I'm a big Russell Wilson fan, so it's good to see him playing good football. Whether it's for the long term or not, it seems like at least for the rest of this season and for the playoffs, Russell Wilson will be the starting quarterback for the Steelers. And I think this just gives them a bigger chance to be able to score offensively. Obviously, Fields brings you a different type of atmosphere, being able to run the ball a little bit better. But this is the brand of football the Steelers emphasize, and Mike Tomlin's getting the best out of these players. And you could never really be shocked. I know that we didn't pick, or at least I didn't pick them to be a playoff team, and now you have to look back and say, well, it's Mike Tomlin, and it's an incredible team, and it's an incredible organization, and they just do this year in and year out. So are we really that surprised? But let's move on from the Steelers and Mike Williams. Incredible catch, Mr. Number 18 over there. That was really fun to see. The Texans blew a huge lead. They were up 23-7 at halftime against the Detroit Lions, and Detroit comes back and wins that game. What do you think about that performance by not only C.J. Stroud, but Jared Goff threw 5 picks?
Yeah. So now I was watching Pat McAfee before actually, and they were saying that he's now 2-0 when he throws at least 4 interceptions, which is or 2-1, but whatever it is. I think that this is something that's very concerning for the Texans because they've kind of been trending down as a road team, but home was supposed to be their sanctuary where they handle business and they take care of teams. And they didn't score in the second half. If they would have scored anything in the second half, they would have at least taken this game in overtime, if not held on for the win. But this just shows you Detroit is an absolute juggernaut. They embody their coach. Dan Campbell just he's never gonna give up on his guys. He's never gonna look at them and say, I he's never gonna wave the white flag, is the phrase I'm looking for. And I mean, you could see that for a good chunk of the game, the win percentage for the Texans was around 80%. Then it just shot up when the Texans just couldn't score. They couldn't do anything. What do you think? Do you still feel good about this being the Super Bowl matchup?
Well, when you're examining the AFC in terms of probability for making the playoffs, it seems like the six teams, the top six teams, are pretty locked in. Chiefs, I mean the Texans are going to make the playoffs. It's not the question. The question is, are they going to be able to sustain it and make that run to the Super Bowl, which is what I have them playing against Detroit in the Super Bowl and winning, right? When you deal with the injuries that you've dealt with so far this season, I know that Nico Collins is now coming back, but he's been out the last few weeks. Stephon Diggs, obviously, he's not playing for the remainder of the season. It's been an up and down hill in regards to their offense and the way that they like to play the game, offensively speaking, at least. And it's still, when you put up 23 points, I don't think it's excusable for an offense of that caliber to just not be able to put up any points. They had a field goal attempt. Kaimi Fairbairn missed like a 50-plus yarder, which you're not going to blame the kicker for missing one attempt. I mean, that was the only opportunity they had to score points. So, it's definitely somewhat of a concern because this is not the same roster you envisioned, at least offensively, for this team. But, you look at some of these teams like the Chiefs, for instance, and we're about to get into them too. They're 9-0, but are they really a team that should be 9-0? And, of course, you win the games. You're 9-0 statistically speaking, record-wise, they're 9-0. But I think that some of these teams in the AFC, their flaws are based around matchups, and it really depends on who the Chiefs get in their playoffs that they match up well against. And if for some reason, they do end up playing, for instance, like let's say the Bills in the playoffs, I think they match up well against the Bills. I'm not saying they're definitely going to beat the Bills, but I think they prefer playing a team like the Bills than they would play like a team like the Chiefs, for instance, in the first or second round of the playoffs. And so really it's about what teams are going to be in front of you, and it's really about controlling your own destiny going forward. They're going to make the playoffs. It's just a matter about, are they going to be able to make it to the next level. We'll see. I think CJ Stroud's unbelievable. I don't necessarily put any real blame on him. I think that this team is just dealing with second year struggles of a quarterback who's still very elite and is still going to do some amazing things throughout his career.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, and I think there's no one happier in the world right now than CJ Stroud to be seeing Nico Collins returning this week.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the comfort level he gives you, knowing that the playmaker that you desperately need is out there at all times, because they haven't been able to rely on Tank Dell. They haven't been able to rely on Dalton Schultz. They do have Joe Mixon, but he also was missing for a couple of weeks too, which was, a big part of their offense. Now these guys are going to be healthy. It's going to provide some much needed protection in terms of CJ Stroud getting the ball to some of his most elite receivers. And you have some other guys on this roster too, some of these depth receivers who can make plays, but are you going to really rely on Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie to produce big plays down the stretch in games? No. So Nico Collins getting back into the lineup, huge plus for them. We'll see. I mean, they're still going to win the division, in my opinion. I don't see the Colts making a run now that AR starting, or the Jags obviously are one of the worst teams in football. So I really think that for them it's about just taking care of business going forward, and hopefully the playoff matchup is something that will benefit them for them to make a run to the Super Bowl. But let's move on from them. I mean, we've covered them a lot. Sorry for my broken English. It's been a long day, but the Chiefs, they're 9-0, right? And the way I look at them, it's a team that has the best quarterback in football, not playing the best football though, because the truth is his offensive line, it's not the best, and he's dealt with fair share injuries. Rashee Rice, Isaiah Pacheco's been out, and they haven't had Hollywood Brown from the start of the season, so not being able to get Xavier Worthy in the mix of things. So there's a lot of things going on with the Chiefs offense, but they still seem to pull through week in and week out. A week where I thought this was it. The Broncos are going to beat them finally and block field goal attempt, and Chiefs are 9-0. What do you have to say about this?
It's so interesting because they were 0-3 in the preseason. Obviously, that doesn't matter, but it seems like they might have got their losing ways out then. When you look at the schedule, I mean, if you really look at their schedule line by line, it's with looking at the teams now, it's probably one of the weaker schedules you'll have seen around the league. And for them to only have 2 games that they win by more than 1 score. That doesn't feel like a 9-0 team. It doesn't feel like it's been easy, but that keeps them hungry. That keeps them wanting to do it their way, and it keeps them able to not rush Pacheco back, not do certain things a certain way, and really implement DeAndre Hopkins the way they want to. And for all you know, Andy Reid could have his Xavier Worthy playbook saved for the playoffs because they just keep winning and they don't need to take shots. They don't. It seems like everything's falling their way, but they got the Bills, and then I don't really. They got the Texans, but besides that, their schedule is it's pretty soft. And well, obviously, you don't want to take anything away because you got if every team won the games they're supposed to win, whether it's looking on paper or it's just it's just looking at how the game flows and closing out games. That's why you pay your quarterback what Mahomes gets paid because no matter what the situation is, your job is to get it done. Your job is to win games, and that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, they're already selling playoff tickets for the wild card round, which I don't think they'll be a part of. But regardless, I think that it's still pretty cool to say at this point of the year before Thanksgiving that a team is already looking to get the playoffs get the playoffs in their fans' mind because they want to get people fired up.
Well, I was talking to you before about this. I think if there's any team that's going to give them their first loss, it'll be the Bills this coming up week. But it's
Yeah,
still one of those touchy games where, you really don't want to really touch it in terms of betting it.
yeah,
They do have the Texans coming up as well. And then there is another team that is playing really well. We were just talking about them, the Steelers. They play on Christmas. So they have 3 teams that are, I guess, in the playoff picture. Well, technically, now that I'm looking at it, the Chargers are also there too. So we don't really consider the Chargers on the same level as the Chiefs, but they are, in all reality, a playoff team. So, Justin Herbert, who knows what he's going to do, and if he can figure out his wide receiver room and find a number one option that he likes to throw to. But, I think if there's going to be a team that's going to beat these Chiefs, it's going to be Josh Allen. And if it's not Josh Allen, it'll be CJ Stroud. If it's not one of those 2 guys, this team's probably going 17-0. And if they go 17-0, I really, really will be rooting for them to lose at some point during these playoffs so badly. I hate seeing teams. And then also being a Giants fan, I like to be able to say that we're the only ones who beat a 17-0 team.
yeah.
Actually, they were 19-0, obviously winning throughout the playoffs as well. But they're playing good football. They're playing winnable games. They're
Mhm.
obviously 9-0. But, we'll have to see if this is going to be something that's going to be sustainable. Obviously, Pacheco's nearing a return. He's not going to be back this week, but possibly the following week against Carolina, he'll be back. And then, will Rashee Rice be making an appearance for the playoffs? Will Hollywood Brown be ready for the end of the season? These are things that can really change a lot of things for that
Yeah.
Chiefs offense and make them quite interesting. So we'll definitely keep following them. But
You also have
um,
to see how much that matters to them because they have the Broncos again to close out the year. I was just looking at it, thinking about how close the last game
right,
was. Where
5-5
if
team, by the way.
yeah, but if they pull all their guys and they could have very well lost that game. So even then, they might be looking to play spoiler. That might become their Super Bowl. So you
Could
never
it could
know.
very well depend on how things are going for the season. If they're undefeated, who knows if they actually sit them. If they want to have this whole legacy thing, three-peat with an undefeated kind of cherry on top. If they end up obviously getting that far,
Kelsey
but
would
we'll
probably
see.
retire. Kelsey would probably
I
retire
think
off
it's
of a
I think it makes sense at this point for him to hang it up there. What else is he going to do? He's obviously trending down in terms of what he's able to do on a weekly basis. He's
hundred
still
million
productive, but still.
$100 million podcast deal too.
Right, exactly. So he has incentives to not, go get his body wrecked on a weekly basis. So, but we'll move
Exactly.
on from our sideline stories. We like bringing these little pointers to you guys too because it's good to emphasize other things that are happening relevant in the NFL world. But we have a ton of commentating coming from our fans, and we are super thankful for them. We're calling these our audience assists, and we have a few of them. We're gonna have Ben start rolling them off for us, and we'll start answering each person's question slash comment slash
Yeah.
discussion.
And just Harry, one thing before Ben pops on. I mean, no Ben, you're welcome to be on screen, but I just want you, Harry. I just want you to explain to the people what an audience assist is. And Ben, I think this is something that'll be good to clip because we'll put it on our socials to make sure that they see what it is. So we'll put it out there for them to know so that their voice matters.
Well, I would have preferred you, since you created the audience assist, to introduce it to the world, but I'll explain it to the best of my ability. And the audience assist is something that we just put out here. It's for our fans to be able to interact with us and kind of guide us while basically assisting us to our next conversations that we're going to have. So whatever people put out there, it's going to help us, discuss it more. And we hope that it intrigues all our fans to be able to engage with us a little bit more going forward. We love hearing from you guys, whether it's calling us crazy, giving us some crazy takes, which I think there's at least one on here that's quite crazy to discuss, but we're going to get to it. And I mean, we love it. We love the interaction. So keep going, guys. Keep giving us those audience assists.
And we're not afraid of the difficult questions. And I purposely wanted you to explain it because I felt like I already explained it on social. So I wanted to make sure that both of our faces were in front of it.
Gotta love it, baby. Gotta love it. These audience assists are going to come clutch. And I think the first one's coming from Devin, right?
Yep. So the first audience assist, I love it, is coming from Devin. What are your guys' Juan Soto predictions?
Thank you
Harry,
so
you
much,
start.
That's the
Devin.
first one.
I'll start. I mean, clear as day, Juan Soto will return to the Yankees. It only makes sense. I think when it comes down to the financials, if it's close enough where the numbers are, basically a few bucks apart, it's going to come down to legacy. Where can he truly envision winning over the next 12 to 14 years? Will it be for the Yankees? Will it be for the Mets? Will it be for another organization? Can he truly picture himself winning for long stretches on another team outside of the Yankees, on top of the fact that they're willing to pay him, such a high premium to retain him? He's played here for a year. He's gotten as far as he has. There's a chip on his shoulder. He wants to come back. He wants to win in the Bronx, and I expect him back on a 13-year deal. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I felt like if we would have won the World Series, it might have been even more of a threat to lose him because he won his World Series, and then truly going after the bag. But I think that if there's an equal offer, he'll be a Yankee. I think that Steve Cohen will have to go absolutely ballistic to get him. And my true prediction is that I would be stunned if Juan Soto leaves New York. But I just looking at the way he fit in, the way everything was, players don't really sabotage their careers when they don't have only one offer on the table. If a guy had, if he didn't have this, if he didn't have huge offers from the Yankees and the Mets, which will inevitably come from both of them as well as other teams, I think that you would see that that's not an option to build on that legacy. But I think you look at it that it, I would be surprised if he left the Yankees, but I would be floored if he left New York.
It's going to be a fun sweepstakes. It's just going to be a matter about how much. And as soon as we get the intel on that signing, we'll bring it to you guys. But seems like you and I are in agreement. He is returning to the Yankees, and we'd love nothing more to see him wearing pinstripes for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
So, Juan, hopefully the numbers make sense and you want to implement your legacy in the Bronx, baby, because that's what we do here in New York. Well, I'm in Florida,
Absolutely.
but New York baseball.
Yeah,
Alright.
the energy you brought at the World Series, you're in New York.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to keep going. So we got Noah Perry Lang, college football news, and MK Fashion NHL news.
Well, thank you guys so much for bringing those to us. We actually have little segments on those that we are actually going to get to after we finish these up. So stay tuned, and we will discuss some NHL. We will discuss some college football as well.
Just always super important that we acknowledge that that's where it came from, because sometimes if we're way in between two topics, if someone gives us an assist from the audience, we'll choose that one.
So thank you, Michaela and Noah, for that, by the way.
Ooh, and now we got our good old Matt.
We need like an air horn for when Matt's question comes
I know,
on.
we need like
Yeah.
a meow, 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 meow.
I think
That's
we'll
exactly
implement
the
something.
sound
Matt,
I-
if you're listening, we're going to put something just for you. It's going to
Let
be
us know if you have any ideas. We know you're not afraid to comment, and we love that.
Exactly. We love it.
So Matt, predictions for top MLB free agents, trades. What are the candidates?
So I guess we'll do free agents first. You want to name off, Ben, you want to name off some of these free agents, and we'll go back and forth on where we think these guys will end up playing in 2025.
Yeah, let's do it. Let me see. Let's see. So we're just gonna name off the
Yeah, we have top
list.
top
Okay.
free agent options, and we'll Josh and I are going to name the teams that we think that they're going to end up playing for.
All right, perfect. So our first one, we've got Alex Bregman.
I think Bregman will return to Houston.
Washington Nationals.
Ooh,
Okay, like it.
all right. Corbin Burns.
I have him signing with the Texas Rangers.
New York Mets.
Wow. Blake Snell.
I have him taking his talents to the shitty Boston Red Sox.
Baltimore Orioles.
Oh wow. Willie Adames.
The free agent, the San Francisco Giants always end up getting the second tier free agent, but Willie Adames will be a San Francisco Giant.
Seattle Mariner. I'm stunned we haven't crossed yet.
Wow. So you guys, these are all different. You guys have
So
both-
far, we've been pretty different.
Wow. All right. Tanner Scott.
Yeah, I got him going to the Phillies.
I got Pittsburgh Pirates.
So at least we're in the same state.
Wow.
Yeah, we're getting warmer.
Yeah.
Walker Bueller.
I have him taking his talents to the Mets.
I have the Detroit Tigers.
Wow. So no matchup on the free agents, but
Nope.
all right. Well, let's go over to the trade candidates. All right. Garrett Crockett.
That's Garrett Crochet.
Oh, Crochet.
Crockett!
Dang.
I love it. I love Crockett.
You wouldn't get cooked if we didn't practice this before, but San Diego Padres.
I got him going to Atlanta, the Braves.
All right. Brent Rooker.
Pittsburgh Pirates again.
I got him going to San Diego.
All right. Ryan McMahon.
Minnesota Twins.
The Cleveland Guardians.
Nolan Arenado.
Philadelphia Phillies.
Oh, wow, we're striking out. I got him going to the Yankees.
All right, last one. Let's see. Drum roll, please. Josh Naylor.
Arizona Diamondbacks.
So I did not have Josh Naylor on here. It's funny that I didn't even realize he was part of him. But if I have to wing where I think Josh Naylor will end up for the 2025 season will be the Seattle Mariners. I think that wraps up our free agents and potential trade candidates. But that was fun, Josh. We did not hit one.
That's kind of crazy.
I love it. I love it. That's insane. Oh, wow.
And
It's going to be fun to see where they actually end up landing because then we're going to actually really be able to get into it.
That'd be kind of wild if we were both wrong about everyone with giving two options.
That's true. It's possible. You never really know what happens until it happens. So
Exactly. And we're going to go into more detail about all things MLB off seasons in the next coming weeks.
Oh, yeah.
So just stay tuned into these episodes. You know we love our baseball.
Absolutely. Yeah. We got some more questions though, right, Ben?
Yes, we do. We are not off the hot seat. So from
Nice. I like that. I saw you did that.
we've got Hoff Renzi. How hot is Brian Dabble's seat?
You want to start this one off?
I think I want to hear what you have to say first, just because of your passion.
That guy's seat, let me tell you something. He's not sitting right now. The seat is too hot. His bottom will burn off if he takes a seat. Brian Daboll should no longer be the head coach of the New York Giants after the disastrous performance of a season they've had so far. Losing to the Carolina Panthers in Germany in a fashion that just is not acceptable to a team that does not play defense. You know, we're expecting the quarterback room to change, the starting quarterback to at least change. And I don't expect a firing happening mid-season, but you might need to bring the brooms out. If you're John Mara, you might need to clean up house and just call the fact that the last 3 years were a waste of time. Because we've seen it on Hard Knocks, now we're seeing it in season. Whatever the Giants were thinking was going to be the right moves have clearly not panned out. Brian Daboll has lost the confidence not only of his players, of the front office, but of also the fans. So I think the change is much needed, and I expect it to happen this offseason.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that his seat is boiling. I think that he is absolutely sweating over there. I thought 2 New York coaches were going to be left in Europe, and I don't really think that there's anything that you left off of what you said. I think that the offense is abysmal. The defense, with getting a sack over 1/8 of the plays, is still pretty terrible. They just need they need help. Like the players it's clear that they're doing everything they can, but they need help from their GM. and they need help with a new regime.
I think we're going to see a lot of changes happen throughout the NFL. Coaches, there's going to be a lot of new ones. Mike McCarthy's probably no longer going to be in Dallas. The Jets will be searching for a new head coach. So we'll see what happens. Brian Daboll's most likely out. Let's just hope that the Giants are smart enough to actually pull the trigger on this and not put the fans and the organization through another year of misery.
Ben, you're a Giants fan, right?
I am a Giants fan.
So how hot do you think his seat is?
Whew.
Probably
Well,
after hearing this conversation, he probably is on the same page as us.
Yeah, I am. I'm definitely on the same page. I just I wish we were a little bit better. That's all. That's
Yeah,
all
they
I
probably
get-
should have left him in Germany and told him, listen, we're no longer going to put any expenses towards you. If you want to fly back to the United States, you figure it out yourself.
They gave him enough money.
Literally, honestly.
On a side note, did you guys see the beers that they were serving to the players or not the players, to the people in Germany? They were like pints.
I could imagine. I didn't
They
see
were
it,
all
but
pints. I was like,
it's
Yeah.
wow, that's pretty cool.
Oktoberfest
It's
just
super-
ended only a couple weeks ago, so they're still in the beer moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, we still got some more. We still got some more hot
Ab-
takes. So we got Cameron U. Wagner. Aaron Judge should either leave the Yankees or the Yankees should trade him. He's proven time and time again that he's pretty much worthless when it matters most, specifically in the playoffs. And the Yankees are better off without him. Ooh. Whew.
I
don't
don't even know.
It's like ridiculous, man. We're stunned with something like this, but we like to see these things. At least we see the other side.
We both froze and we both knew the question from like hours before. We're still both froze on the spot.
I haven't
because-
even put any notes on it because there's not much to really. Listen, first of all, Cameron, thank you very much for showing us that there is another side of, Yankee fans who see this and might actually want this, because the postseason was not very good to Aaron Judge. But the
Yeah.
truth is, you got to make the postseason, right? And there is no picture, especially if Juan Soto leaves. I mean, that's a different argument, but a different conversation. But Aaron Judge took this team to the playoffs. Last season, we were a team that was horrible to watch. But you knew that when Aaron Judge is out there, it gives you a chance to win every single game. You can't say that about 99% of baseball players, because baseball is a team sport. Aaron Judge takes you to that next level single-handedly. He's the captain of this team. He's going to retire as a Yankee, and hopefully by the end of his tenure, that he has not only just one, but at least 2 rings to hang up and say he's won multiple championships for this team. Because as much as the struggles happened in the postseason, you saw there was times where he was just right there. He was right there to just unloading. And it just didn't get there. But you look at Ohtani on the other side, right? How did he perform? Yes, they won. But you look at that roster, you can't sit here and say it was because Shohei Ohtani performed exceptionally well for the Dodgers.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to sit here and put the blame on Aaron Judge for postseason slumps. I think he is one of the best players we've ever been able to witness with our own eyes, to be able to see swing the bat. And so for that reason and that reason alone, you cannot ever, ever get rid of a player of his caliber, because there is no going back from that. If you're talking about getting rid of Aaron Judge, you might as well not even consider sniffing a postseason anytime soon.
I
And
think that
rant.
I think that the whole story around Aaron Judge might have changed if we would have won Game 3 of the ALCS, where he hits the huge home run off of a reliever who had one of the best seasons in the history of baseball as a reliever, and he hits a huge home run off of him, and then the bullpen just absolutely falls apart. You have the home run by Jhonkensy Noel, and the Cleveland gets their one game that they always get on us, and then we always come back and score a bunch of runs and end up winning the series. It's just how it goes when we play them. In the moment, it felt like we might have broken it, but we didn't. And of course, it was our boy Clayton, who I hope he enjoys whatever city takes him on next, because I think that he's gonna get a decent amount of money for his stuff. But if he's gonna close, I don't see it being This isn't about Clay Holmes, but Aaron Judge, his whole narrative would have changed if the team would have had his back there. He's had their back all year, and they all know that he's the guy. He changes how you pitch to everybody else in the order. He still had 11 walks in the playoffs for how terrible and beyond below expectations the postseason was. I fully expect for him to come back ready next year and be a big reason why the Yankees make another big run in the AL. And I might have been of the slim majority. I wanted Houston. I wanted to get at them. I wanted to get over that hump. So I'm hoping that we get Houston in the playoffs next year and we could smoke them. Aaron Judge could lead the charge, and then we could reference this moment where he should not leave the Yankees. He should not be traded. I don't really know time and time again because he only broke out a couple years ago. So if you hold people's rookie years against them, fine. That'll just add to the stats in your favor. But the Yankees are not better off without him. In fact, I think there are 29 teams that if Brian Cashman put out a statement that Aaron Judge is available for trade, that would give him a call.
Well said. I agree. I mean, you can't get rid of him. He's your captain. He is the best thing this organization has seen since Jeter's retirement. And so, whatever happens, you live and die by Aaron Judge being in your outfield. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Cameron, again for that interesting point of view. And we look forward to seeing more interesting point of views like that. But we do have one more, or we don't? I think that was it, right?
No,
we have one more?
We have one more. We got Drew Montana. Top needs for MLB contenders in free agencies.
All right, let's run these off really quickly too. We got 4 teams that we picked among Josh and I that are the teams that we believe should be acknowledged here. Dodgers, I think pitching for them, they're losing some starters. Buehler, Kershaw, Flaherty. They could also use something in the bullpen, but in terms of offensive, they don't need any adjustments. Sasaki's probably going to be their number one thing on their bucket list. So if they get him, they bolster their rotation, and their pitching is pretty set.
Yeah, I think that it's important to see what happens with Teoscar, to see if he goes somewhere else where they bring in that clutch bat, because when they had their ebbs and flows, his role was kind of getting them out of it and keeping them going, especially Mookie missed some time. I think that having him or another veteran to come in, maybe they would have someone that was an infielder, even if it wasn't a huge power bat like Teoscar was, just a stabilizing force like that, because you see the drop off from the top 3 to the bottom. Even if, albeit they do their jobs, they do enough in certain times. It's not sustainable for a decade long period to think that that bottom half of the lineup is going to be able to do damage.
Teoscar is a really important part of their offense, and I think that they should really consider bringing him back as long as the numbers make sense. But the next team, we'll take it to the AL Central, the Guardians. Their pitching is really solid. They had some guys who were out for these playoffs, but you expect them to be healthy next season, and it's going to be paying a lot of dividends for them. They could really use a consistent bat other than Stephen Kwan and J-Ram, obviously, who is going to be able to turn over that lineup more consistently, other than having Stephen Vogt have to go to his bench and utilizing Lane Thomas and David Fry as pinch hitters in certain situations. So they should go out there and get a bat.
Yeah, I think that they need a shortstop. Rocchio, he had a couple singles in the playoffs, and the numbers looked a little good there, but it seemed like every time there was a play to be made, he was not making it. And also, it's funny because if you insert Lindor onto that team, I feel like that team is such a different vibe, which obviously the Mets aren't trading Lindor. I'm just saying that that's a trade that I feel like didn't need to happen, but they were just
$330 million that the Guardians probably weren't, willing to spend.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably, if in a perfect world, if they could have kept him, they would have, but they realized that it was just not going to happen. I think the Mets, if anything, have spent quite a big money on Francisco Lindor. So I'm not sure if he's paid off yet. We'll see. Still got a long time to go. But we'll take that and we'll go back to the NL. We'll go to the East, the Phillies. One of the more complete teams, in my opinion. I think, it was a kind of a year that was unlucky for them. They could add a high caliber reliever. I think Carlos Estevez is a free agent. So for them, they have to bolster that bullpen. Their rotation's really sound. Their offense is amazing. So for them, if they can lock up the bullpen with another great piece, Clay Holmes seems like a name that's been floating around Philly. That team could really make quite a long run for a long time if they do get a move like that.
I actually think that they have a lot of work to do in their outfield because I think that they've had some good luck in a couple of years, but it's another team that does a lot of things the right way. So I think that when you look at their outfield, the highest OPS was 747. So even if you have Brandon Marsh's 747, and whether you keep Castellanos or you get someone else to have that sort of production, you need another guy. I think kind of a hot take that we didn't have anything in there. I think that they're going to explore Mike Trout.
That would be really interesting if we saw Mike Trout actually getting moved from the Angels. We shall see on that. And then the final team, bring it back, American League East, the Baltimore Orioles. They have some big free agents. Corbin Burns, Anthony Santander are free agents, most likely gone. So they're going to have to be out there exploring. I know that you said that you believe Blake Snell will sign with the Orioles. I think they need more than just Blake Snell, so that would be a good addition for them if they were able to get a starting pitcher like that to replace Corbin Burns. But they're going to have to replace the production from Santander, whether that's going to get like a DH like Rooker or somebody else. They have some work in front of them if they want to compete in the AL East with the Yankees and some of these other teams that are trying to make some big moves for this offseason.
And I think they're a sleeper for one guy that we did not talk about, Pete Alonso.
Sure, absolutely. I think we can definitely see Pete Alonso leave, especially if the Mets go put their money someplace else. But we shall see. It's going to be a really fun offseason. A lot of moves are going to happen. We expect them to happen. As soon as they come, we will definitely break the news to you guys and kind of go into the details of what and how and why we think, certain moves happened.
Thanks, Ben.
Ben, you are
Anytime, guys.
stellar when it comes to these questions. But we're going to quickly wrap up. We want to make sure we hit every single point here. College football has been an insane season so far. I mean, we started off the season thinking FSU is going to make a deep run. Josh, I know you've always been on the Oregon fan, and they've kind of held strong. But, Florida has just not proven to be a capable state when it comes to college football this season.
That was a crazy stat.
Miami's the only one who's doing anything down here. FSU, the Gators, UCF, nobody's doing anything. But you have to give props to Indiana. Those Hoosiers are 10-0. Oregon and Indiana are both the only undefeated relevant teams, at least let's just say, in the college football championship. And so, give props to them. I think Oregon is playing, you're no surprise, exceptional football.
Yeah.
And, we'll see. I mean, I think, Dylan Gabriel, he's not the front runner for the Heisman, but the guy's playing some incredible football.
Yeah, he's playing great ball. I think that they're the definition of look good, feel good. They got Phil Knight in their pocket, giving them the crazy jerseys every week. And I think that they're a team that's going to be making some loud noise. I think that Indiana and Ohio State's game this upcoming week is going to be massive for both sides. If Indiana can pull that off, they're the number 2 team. They should take that 2 spot and be right behind Oregon. And Ohio State, I don't know where that would put them, but 2 losses is tough in a bracket where Georgia isn't even in. I want to hear you talk a little bit about that.
Well, the expectation is that, when it comes down to the final seeding, some of these teams that we expected to see early on are not going to be there. And Ohio State and Georgia seem like they're on the brink of, at least one, it seems like both teams are impossible to get into there. It seems like one or the other seems unlikely at this point too, potentially. So it just goes to show you how incredible of a sport college football is, and it's only getting better, right? This is where, the season really kicks a turn. The good teams play good. The bad teams start getting exposed, whether they have good records or not. And, we're excited to get closer into playoff college football to bring you guys some of the better stuff. I mean, this is really interesting. Nobody ever thought Indiana was going to be there, but it's just so interesting to see. And we love college football for this. And we're going to bring you guys some more things as it keeps getting going. But quickly, we'll wrap up with some hockey. Got a couple of pretenders, got a couple of contenders for this season. I think, it's been an interesting start to the season. I don't think anybody expected Winnipeg to take off 15-1 to start the season, but they're playing some exceptional hockey up north. But another team above the border, in my opinion, has been a pretender and has been a pretender for a long period of time. Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, a team that has had such high expectations for so long, since honestly 2016, and they have been bounced from the first round, all but 2 years. They made it past once. They lost in the second round. And then the other year, they lost in the qualifying round. A team that was expecting not just one, but multiple Stanley Cups to be held high in Toronto. And they're like the LA Clippers of, 2012, 2016, when they had Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. Everyone thought this was going to be the team that runs through the West. I mean, these Maple Leafs are the biggest pretenders I could have seen in this generation of hockey.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to need to show out to get any respect these days because they got a new coach, but they're just historical chokers. They're pretenders. I don't really think that, um, regardless of that, what's it called? You look at the Toronto Maple Leafs and you look at their poor fans, man. Like you said, it's been such a run of just first round exits. Like, at what point do these people stop paying these exorbitant prices for their tickets and for their playoff tickets and make the team make some wholesale changes to make things happen?
It seems like it's something that's foundationally for them. And, for them, it seems like it's not going to be something that's going to be fixed over the next couple of years. They've already started, 9-6 and 6 OT losses. And so, I mean, it's not looking so pretty over there in Toronto. I know Austin Matthews hasn't played just yet, so they're expecting him to come back and be a big part of their team. He's obviously their best player. But give me one of your contenders for this season. Obviously, we just started already, but who do you think is going to make a real noise?
Yeah, I think looking at the Minnesota Wild, they've shown a lot. They've had the talent the last couple of years, but I think that's starting to all come together. Kirill the Thrill is really taking the step forward. He's well over a point a game, and I think him and Matt Boldy are there long term, and they're for good reason. They're the face of the team, and it's really exciting to have a hockey state have a really good team, and I think that's a team that can make some run.
Carroll is a beast. I mean, that team is filled with so much championship pedigree. A couple of guys that played on those championship teams in Tampa Bay. And so you think that when you got the right pieces around you, filled with talent, filled with that championship pedigree, you're in line for a deep playoff run. So I think those Minnesota Wild, I have them as a contender as well. I don't see why, especially after the last couple of seasons where they've really started picking things up. I think the Wild have a bright future, definitely brighter than the Toronto Maple Leafs for sure.
They caught a stray there. I wanted to spotlight the Carolina Hurricanes real quick. I think that there's not really too much to be said about them because they've been doing the same thing year in and year out. I just think that with them, they're a contender to me. They might be they're 9-1 now. If they can keep it going for a whole season, that would be great. A lot of times in the Metro Division, the teams that get hot sometimes don't hold on. I'm hoping because my Devils are in first, but they're a couple games ahead, so that's why I didn't really put them in here because I want to see all the games catch up and see where everyone sits. But it's definitely fun time in Carolina. What do you think?
I have to agree. I mean, the Hurricanes have been trending up the last couple of years. They had a nice playoff run last season where they got held up in the second round there by the Rangers, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, correct,
Yep.
right? And so, I mean, I think they have a really bright future. They play some really, really good hockey together. So I have them as well as a contender this season. And I have one final pretender, and it's the Colorado Avalanche, man. I mean, a team that won it all a couple of years ago, they're a shell of themselves. This season, we were kind of talking about this a little earlier on. They don't play defense. And if you don't play
Yeah.
defense in hockey, well, it's going to be really difficult to, marginalize your points and be able to stay on the top of your division and top of your league to be able to say, listen, we're Super Bowl, Stanley Cup winners the last two years ago. We deserve to be in this conversation. It doesn't seem that way. They've really fallen off, if you've asked me, from what they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, they've allowed 61 goals already in 16 games. I think that they need to look at what they're doing and really consider investing in a goalie, maybe trying to pry Shesterkin from the Rangers when he goes to free agency because they've yet to come to a deal. But I don't think that he'll go to free agency. But if they could get someone like that or Hellebuck from Winnipeg, that would be a crazy move for them. But they need defense in front of them. Otherwise, none of these goalies are going to want to go there.
We shall see. Hockey's still really early on. Islanders aren't looking so thrilling, but I know the Devils technically are in first place, so we'll keep monitoring it. Hopefully our teams are competitive when we get to go see them. I think we're talking about April, so we'll figure that out. But hockey is just getting things going, and we're excited to bring you guys some more hockey as we get to it. And, once the trade deadline comes, I'm certain we'll see some things happening there too.
For sure.
We'll bring it to you guys. But thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for so many great questions and pointers and notes and comments that you guys have left us. This audience assist was really amazing, and we look forward to bringing more. You guys just keep posting away and commenting away for us, and we'll bring it to you guys live stream. I do also want to make a quick mention for all the Beyond the Score viewers. Please send a prayer for Ben's uncle. Tragic accident. He's in the hospital. He's going to recover. He's a strong man, but we have to have our prayers up. Family is the most important thing. You can never forget that. And so I will be sending a prayer tonight for Ben's uncle.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Of course.
100%. We always got to put it on air. You're part of the Beyond the Score team. We got to make sure that all the love's in the air, and all the viewers keep, if they have a spare prayer, which I highly doubt that they don't, they can throw one your way. And just want to thank everyone again for tuning in, for your questions. And if you're listening and you did not give a question, let the multitude of questions today be your sign that we are taking everybody's questions, and we take them seriously, and we're excited to get them, and we appreciate you all.
And let's not forget our famous part of the day, our yogiisms. The smartest man, in my opinion, who's ever been born. Love that man. I just want to thank everyone for making today necessary. Thrilling. What a guy. Necessary days.
I have
Take
like
care,
the
everyone.
same laugh. I have like the same laugh every time. It's just because I'm like
You
I'm like perplexed, but it's amusing, and it's yogi. That's really what it is.
It's Yogi, man. And sometimes he says some of the most thrilling things, and it catches you off guard. And I'm thrilled to be able to bring it to you guys every week. But on that note, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for another episode next week. We'll bring you guys some more updates as they come.